Hello, I'm Scott Davis. Welcome to New World Birth. This is the weekly neutrino forecast for June 8th to June 14th of 2014. Human design is a synthesis of four ancient wisdom systems as a bridge to understanding our potential to discover our path in making decisions that are correct for us as individuals. And those traditions are astrology, the I Ching, the Hindu Brahmin chakra system, and the Kabbalistic tree of life. And we're going to look at how these systems work together. We start by looking at the sun, the planets, the nodes in the wheel, much like we would in astrology, except instead of looking at them as they relate to zodiological constellations or to each other by the angles that they make, we look at them in relationship to the hexagrams of the I Ching, which you can see on the outside of the wheel, these stacks of 6 lines. Each one of them is mapped to a specific location in the body graph. On June 8th, we have the sun right here, this black circle with the dot in it. It's in Gemini. It's in the 45th hexagram, and you can see the hexagram on the outside of the wheel. They're numbered from bottom to top. So this one goes yin, 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 yang, yang, yin. These shapes inside the body graph are called centers. They represent the next stage in evolution as humans, from having 7 chakras to now having 9 centers. And that mutation, that shift happened in 1781, coincidental with Herschel's discovery of the planet Uranus, when we shifted from being Saturnian beings to being Uranian beings and living a longer life cycle. So anyway, the pathways between these centers are called channels, and they're from the Kabbalah. The black strips of paper on this chart represent gates that are being activated by the sun, the earth, the planets, the nodes, regardless of whether they form a channel. I'm not following the moon in this demonstration because it moves very fast and activates 3 to 4 gates in a day, which would really make this an extended hours of presentation. So, just bear with me here. So the sun is in the 45th hexagram, and it's mapped to an opening in an energy channel called the gate. And here we have the 45th gate, the gatherer gathering together, the natural and genetically beneficial attraction of like forces. Is located in the throat center, in a tribal energy path in the ego circuit called the channel of the money line, a design of materialists. When it connects to the 21st gate of the hunter-huntress, biting through the justified and necessary use of power in overcoming deliberate and persistent interference. Now, I found human design to be particularly amazing in describing the person, and it's the primary tool I use when I provide readings. So we have those following gates being activated on June 8th. Like I said, we have the sun is in the 45. We have the earth is in the 26th gate. We have the north node in the 50. The south node is in the 3. We have Mercury, which is now newly retrograde, in the 15. Venus is in the 24. And we have Mars in the 48. Jupiter is in the 62 here, gate of details. Saturn also retrograde here in the first gate, and then we have Uranus in the 51, and Neptune in the 37, and Pluto is also retrograde, and it's in the 38. So obviously not every gate activation forms a channel, but this information is very helpful if you know your human design chart, because some of these transits will form channels with the potentials in your personal body graph. And you can get your human design chart by going to jovianarchive.com and clicking on the button that says Get Your Free Rave Chart, and then just enter in your birth information. So basically, a neutrino forecast is just a weather report. And so no matter what the weather is, your individual strategy and authority is the correct choice to have authentic experiences regardless of what's going on with the program. As Ra Uru Hu said, whatever the weather is going to be, you have your neutrino umbrella. As long as you're experimenting with your strategy and authority, the weather is for your pleasure. And as we begin this week, we have no channel definitions, as you can see in this chart. And this week, there actually are no channel definitions or centers defined by the planetary transit field alone. So we're going to be looking at the sun's Ravi-Ching line values daily, because 70% of the neutrinos we receive come through the sun. And as Ra said in Design Perspectives number 56 in his presentation titled "Living with the Program with Ra Uru Hu," the lines of the day, when talking about these daily shifts of line values, he said we can take advantage of the themes of the day. Now, of course, if your strategy and authority does not lead you in that direction, you can always notice how the program's affecting others in your environment. So let's just get started. Anyway, June 8th, it begins with the sun in the 41st hexagram. Again, this is the gathering together the natural and genetically beneficial attraction of like forces. The sun is in the 45 in the first line, the line of the investigator, and this is called canvassing. Exalted, the ability to promote and develop gathering together through education of the uncommitted. The material direction lies in education. Detrimented is an overzealousness that turns canvassing into proselytization and tends to alienate rather than gather support. The drive for material that leads to aggressive education. And so we're down here in the first line. When we think about it, first, second, third lines, this lower trigram, these are about more of an inward-looking process, absorbed in their own process. Themes for the first line are fear, anxiety that needs to be investigated. So it's a day to study, not to act, a day to look into things, not to jump. It's a good day in dealing with the things that you don't understand, can't make sense of, or just don't know. But then later on the 8th, the sun moves into the second line, the line of the hermit. And we're still in the 45th hexagram. The shift happens at 3:44 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. All the times I'm going to give you are Eastern Daylight Time, so you want to convert them to your local time zone so you know when these shifts are happening. The sun is in the 45 too. It's described as consensus, gathering together, is strengthened by acknowledged common interest. Exalted, the inventiveness to establish techniques which by which common ground can be assessed. The material direction through the expression of techniques for the benefits of others. Detrimented, an innate rebellion against conformity. The refusal to accept the material techniques of others. And so now we're in a second line day. This is the hermit. This is people waiting for something. They're waiting to be called. They're stuck in, again, lower trigram. They're in their own process here. So it probably is not the best day to have a big social gathering, because you probably won't find that people won't want to come on that particular day. On the 9th, the sun moves into the third line. So up here, the line of the martyr. Again, 45th hexagram. This shift is at 3:16 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, this is called exclusion. The ability, when excluded, to take whatever measures are necessary to dissolve the antiquated form and accept even humiliation to achieve inclusion. The instinct to find a way to be included in a material process. Detrimented, an aggressive and often violent reaction to exclusion. The expression of frustration when not included in the material process. And now we're getting to this third line day. Again, this is the line of the martyr. This has the energy of being careful on the roads, being careful of what's in your environment. But it's a day where you might have bonds made or broken, or broken and made in the same day. Third line days are about a trial and error process, that things bump into you. So it's a good material day. It's a good day to do business and work on the material plane. But you have to be careful, because things can go wrong, but those things lead to discovery, as with the third line energy. Also on the 9th, we have Venus moving from the 24th hexagram to the second here. So, yeah. And in human design, Venus is very powerful, deeply misunderstood according to Ra. It brings morality, natural law in which we deal with the other and the consequences of the world around us. You know, what disturbs you on a moral level, your design and personality, Venus's tell you about the moral dilemma that you're going to work with in this life. If you do not act with moral clarity, Venus can be really unkind in its retribution. In the second hexagram, Venus is exalted in the first and fourth lines. This is about higher knowing, the receptivity as the primal base through which any response is determined, the root of action. Venus is of course, it's direct, so it's moving forward. It starts out in the first line of the second hexagram of intuition. Sensitivity to disharmony and atrophy. It's exalted in that line. The importance of aesthetics, whether inborn or acquired. Higher knowing through aesthetics. And of course, Venus is very aesthetically pleasing. And then on the 10th, the sun moves into the fourth line of the 45th hexagram. This shift happens at 2:48 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and it's described as direction, exalted, the ability to focus the opportunity of gathering together for the service of higher principles, the expression of higher principles on the material plane. Detrimented is the tendency to try to influence the direction of a group for personal benefit, the lack of expression of higher principles on the material plane. Fourth line days change from an inward perspective to looking outward. So we've gone from the lower trigram to now we're in the upper trigram, which is transpersonal as opposed to the lower trigram being personal. So the themes of the fourth line are friendship, companionship, networking. Fourth line days are great for social interactions. People are more open to networking, to being friendly and social. And then on the 11th, the sun moves into the fifth line. So up into the line of the heretic from being in the line of the opportunist. Now it's up in the line of the heretic of the 45th. This shift is at 2:20 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The sun in the 45:5 is described as leadership. All gathering together must have a center and focus, exalted, the intuitive intellect, and the gift for innovation that enhances continuity through respect on the center. The gift of expressing leadership on the material plane. Detrimented is a sense of right action that assumes a respect that may not have been earned. It's a drive for leadership that may not have been earned, yet earned the right for that level of leadership. Fifth line days, again, the heretic. It's a day of suspicion, but also a day of universalization, meaning that something spreads very rapidly, like a virus, whether it's a YouTube video or a posting on Facebook, something like that. Suddenly there's millions of people connecting with it. But there's also a great deal of suspicion and paranoia on the fifth line day. Of course, if it's only paranoia, if they're not out to get you, and often in the projection field, they are. So this really will impact the nature of relationships. We're also talking projection. We're also talking seduction as being other themes of a fifth line day. Then the 12th, the sun moves into the sixth line, up into the line of the role model, at 45th hexagram and gate. The shift happens at 1:53 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The sun in the 45:6 is reconsideration, an outsider that can admit that its prior rejection was an error and will generally be accepted into the gathering. Exalted, an innate empathy with the outsider mentally and outsider mentality and its eccentric and often misunderstood logic. A material direction which serves the outsider. Detrimented demanding that the outsider conforms, a material direction that is focused on conditioning the outsider to conform. And so we're up here, sixth line, role model. Ra talks about don't get stuck with your head in the clouds because you end up with something banging into your shins. It's a day where there's a lack of focus on what's going on around you because folks are looking beyond their immediate environment, which can bring up issues like third line days where there's certain danger of just not seeing things in your immediate environment, not seeing a car coming, not seeing a bill coming, things of that nature. And then the 13th, the sun moves from the 45 to the 12, and the Earth, of course, moves with it because now it's moved in tandem, and it moves up here to the 11, and that's the 11th gate of ideas, peace. This shift happens at 1:27 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, with the sun in the 12th gate of caution, standstill, the quality of restraint, and the importance of meditation and inaction in confronting temptation. The sun starts out, of course, it's in the first line, the line of the investigator of the 12th hexagram, and this is the monk. Withdrawal that can only be maintained with communal support, exalted the beauty and harmony possible beyond the reach of temptation, the expression of social withdrawal and its value when supported by others. Detrimented is Simon the Stylite, total and often absurd withdrawal, the absurd expression of social caution and extreme withdrawal from emotional conflict. And so again, we're down in starting a new hexagram, so in the lower trigram, again, shifting the focus more inward. First line days, again, fear, anxiety that needs to be investigated. So it's a great day to do research, look into things, but recognize that we're just starting something new and it's not time for action. And then also on the 13th, Venus moves from the second hexagram up to the 23rd. A lot of activity here between the eyes and the center and the throat. Venus, like I said, powerful, deeply misunderstood according to Ra. This is in human design. It's about morality, natural law, dealing with the consequences of what we get from the other, the world around us, things like that. So in the 23rd hexagram, Venus is about assimilation, splitting apart, amorality, the awareness and understanding which leads to the acceptance of diversity. Venus in the 23-1 is proselytization, the attempt to undermine one set of values for another. Exalted, the sage who in an extreme can defend evil as part of the greater good. The powerful expression of insights which will undermine established values. Detrimented, the missionary whose very light will bring darkness. The powerful expression of insight which will produce negative effects. And then on the 14th, the sun moves into the second line. So now we're up into the line of the hermit. Again, 12th hexagram. This shift happens at 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The sun's exalted in the 12-2 is described as purification, rigorous withdrawal from negative influences. Exalted, the discipline to maintain a pure state. The expression of disciplined social caution. Detrimented, there's no detriment because it's exalted. So, just in case it isn't, let's just read it. The boredom that arises out of a lack of stimulation, caution that manifests boredom and is expressed desire for stimulus. I'll have to check on that exaltation. So I'll just put them both in here just in case. Again, second line days, everyone's waiting for something, waiting to be called. People are stuck in their own trip. So it's not a great day to have a party, a social event, or anything like that. So we're still in moving through the 16, the 35, the 45, and now we're in the 12. These are the gates that are associated with Lakshmi, God's head. It's part of the second God's head of the quarter of civilization. It's really the most yin location in the wheel. Very feminine, the mother, the birth of civilization, emerging from the womb, the goddess that bestows the qualities of civilization. But the work is up to the feminine, the female here. The work is up to the form. It becomes a distortion that actually eventually becomes the patriarchy, where the mind believes it can control the form, the civilization believes that the male is going to control the females. And it's interesting, all the gods' heads of the quarters of civilization are goddesses. So the quarter of civilization is described from womb to room. So the realm of Dubi contains all 11 of the gates for the throat, which reminds me of that story of the Tower of Babel, where nothing could be built without communication and manifestation. So the program brings us pressure to manifest while in the quarter of civilization, but as we move from Maya, which was the last god's heads, to Lakshmi, we're moving from survival to abundance. So Lakshmi is about that the civilization continues to improve. She's the Hindu goddess of wealth, love, prosperity, both material and spiritual, fortune, and embodied with in the embodiment of beauty. And one of her other names is Prakriti, which is a word I know from Ayurveda as opposed to Purusha, which means the soul. Prakriti means the form. So Lakshmi is the goddess of wealth and good fortune, but also about providing an education so children can go out and build a better life, that they're able to do better than their parents. So as we keep moving through these gates of developing skills, the 16, and then making progress, the 35, from the crisis of the collective, so that the children can take care of their parents and the tribe by supporting them with what they've gathered, the 45, and then finally we're finishing out the week, and we'll begin the next week with the restraint of individuals when confronted with temptation, the 12, that comes from living in a civilized world, that temptation of being in a civilized world. So it continues to show us the program's subjugation of form to the mind's strategy to survival, which is like the Maya's god's head puts the responsibility on women. Lakshmi also does this as well, where women are going to provide the talent. There's going to be women who provide the early education of children. So with Lakshmi, we have a drive for wealth building, for making progress, for having talent. But balance is restored by Lakshmi by strategy and authority, returning the control to the form and getting out of our heads, getting out of our minds. So no matter what the energies that are conditioning you during the week, just remember that this experience is about being a passenger riding in a vehicle that's being driven by the magnetic monopole. So enjoy the scenery. Let the vehicle take you where you need to go through using your strategy and authority. Every single day we have is a blessing. No matter what dramas are beckoning to distract us, we're all here just giving the performance of our lifetime on the world stage. But take some time to observe the play as well as act your part by remembering you're a spiritual being that's having a human experience. Anyway, I want to thank you for checking out New World Birth. Next segment of the Neutrino Forecast will be for June 15th. It should be available on the 14th, when we're going to continue to look at the influence of the heavenly bodies as they transit the sky and the hexagrams of the I Ching. We're also going to explore the Parvati God's head. You can check us out on Facebook, Blogger, or YouTube. They all have New World Birth pages there. I encourage you to share this information as videos or as text as widely as you choose. I'm going to be discussing the transits of July 2014 and providing some short human design readings to the participants of the Earth Needs Rebels show on Truth Frequency Radio. I'm thinking it's going to be on Tuesday, July 1st, but keep following these reports. We'll get it clarified as we get closer, but it's usually the first weekday of the month, although this last one was supposed to be on June 1st. Now we're doing it today on June 6th while I'm recording this video. Anyway, I invite you to contact me at newworldbirth@yahoo.com if you have any questions or wish to schedule a reading. So if you've been thinking about getting a reading, please contact me. I'd love to provide you a reading during these uncertain times. You'll need to either be able to call me in Maine in the USA, or we can connect on Skype to receive your reading. We're also accepting donations to keep these reports freely available. Best way to make a donation, get a reading. They're epic. They're like at least 2 hours long and full of detail. If you look at the details that's in this, you can imagine all that detail being applied to talking about you. Anyway, as always, I'm blessed that you have taken the time to connect with my passion for these ancient mysteries and their application to our journey during this incarnation. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste, in Lakesh, and as Ra would say, love yourself. Peace, everybody. Thanks for everything.